Welcome back to another episode on the Expand Your Awareness 2.0 podcast. My name is Aaron Doughty, and I'm here today to share with you my journey with plant medicine, whether that be something that is called ayahuasca, something that's called mushrooms, something that's called dimethyltryptamine, and what else have I done? Oh, wachuma. It's called San Pedro. This is over the course of my whole life. This isn't like since last Sunday or something, just so you know. I figured I'd do a whole episode on this because sometimes people ask me my perspective on plant medicine. What are my experiences like? What are some of my insights like? And I thought I would just go through this. Now, first off, let me say that back in like 2012, I used to smoke a lot of weed back in 2012. And one of the reasons I smoked a lot of weed was because I was taking Adderall, which is the prescription drug they give you if you have what is called ADHD. So I'd go into work every day. I'd take Adderall. I would sell a lot of shoes. It would calm me down and really help me focus. Then I'd go home at the end of the day, and the side effects of Adderall are you don't eat very much, you don't sleep very much. Well, guess what I found? Found weed. Side effects of weed include you get to eat a lot and you get to sleep a lot. So I was like, whoa, this is a perfect combination. So, and I don't recommend anybody does Adderall. Some of you probably have been prescribed Adderall before. It is not good, like long-term at all. But I did it for like a while when I was younger. And then I would smoke weed. And then I was like, whoa, I really like this weed stuff. And then back in 2012, I went through my spiritual awakening. I smoked a lot of weed for probably about a year. And then I completely stopped cold turkey. And from that of I think it was like July of 2012 onwards, I completely stopped smoking weed cold turkey because I started meditating and I started feeling high a majority of the time. Now, I know it sounds annoying to hear. It sounds like I'm a square. And guess what? I was a square. And still I am kind of a square. I don't smoke weed. What I do sometimes is years later, to fast forward 5 years, 2017, I decide I'm going daily on YouTube. Slowly but surely, my channel starts to explode. And then I get hit up by this company. It's called Rythmia. And Rythmia in Costa Rica, it's a place in Costa Rica that you can go, in Costa, Costa Rica. And it's a beautiful place, by the way. I'll share a little bit of my experience there. And while I'm there, what happens is, this is what happened first off. They reached out to me and said, yo, will you come to Rythmia, make some YouTube videos, and you get to come for free. It's a $4,000 trip for free. And I was at the time, I just started doing stuff on YouTube, and I was like, whoa, that sounds really cool. I get to go to Costa Rica for free. And then I eventually talked to somebody that was there that explained to me what it was about. And they're like, well, this is a plant medicine. You do plant medicine for, from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 7 days long. So then there's still 4 or 5 days, 3 or 4 days where you're able to just chill. And I'm thinking to myself, this sounds amazing, but I don't know if I want to do the ayahuasca. At the same time, I met my buddy Victor Otto, many of you guys know, and we became great friends. And we both decided, and Victor never really went on a trip since he had 3 kids. Really never went on a trip without his wife Patty. So Patty was like, "Hey, go on this trip." And he was like, oh, I get to go with my new friend. We get to go to get to do plant medicine in Costa Rica at a place that's medically licensed to do it, and it's legal to do it at this place in Rythmia. So it's legal, and it's medically licensed in Rythmia, and there's doctors on staff every night there, which I found pretty freaking cool. So I felt safe going. I talked to someone on the phone, and they were like, hey, you don't have to do the plant medicine. You just got to make the videos. So I was like, okay, cool. There's no pressure, so I'm going to go to this place in Rythmia. So I go in 2017 to that place in Costa Rica, and I realized Victor's like, hey bro, I'm gonna do it every night. And I'm like, okay, well, Victor's gonna do it every night. That means from like 5 o'clock at night till 1 a.m. or midnight, I'm gonna be all alone. I was scared, and I'm not gonna know what to do with myself. So I said, okay, maybe I'll do it one night. I'll do it one night, see what it's all about. Maybe I'll just take a little baby cup, and we'll see. So that was that. I then did it and proceeded to do it every night because it was so transformative, and there was so much of my subconscious I felt like I was working through, And I think I was so close. I'm open, and every now and then, I go to Rythmia and I do that plant medicine, the ayahuasca, and I'm open to it. But back in the day, man, I could never seem, I was so square. And square's not a bad thing, by the way, because you don't need any of these things to raise your vibration. These are tools, but they are not necessary. But after I quit smoking weed in 2012, I quit drinking. I quit doing caffeine, not because it makes me better than anybody, but I felt good a majority of the time. I don't think we need it. So I didn't smoke weed. The only thing I did was I'd eat cool food, and I eat pretty healthy. And that was it. I would meditate. And that was it for years. But in 2017, in November 2017, I did the plant medicine. And it really changed my life. It really helped me understand myself at a deeper level, allowed me to do some deep inner work. And I'll share with you kind of my experience through that as well, what I learned from doing it, what it's like when you go to that place called Rythmia. But before I go there, let me share with you why I've been kind of closed off to psychedelics before that, plant medicine before that. Now, before that, when I was 15 years old, I did something called mushrooms, okay? No, I wasn't 15. I was like 17. 15 years old was when my dad divorced my ex-stepmom. All of a sudden, my brother and I had all this freedom. We then were allowed to have and be at our real mom's house, and our real mom's really dope. And there was this one, I was working at Hollister. So I know I was 17 because I wasn't old enough to have like another job. So I was working at Hollister where you like fold clothes and stuff. And one day I was working with this guy there, and he went to this like rich kid school here in Las Vegas called Coronado, where they have like a lot of money and stuff. And he's like, yo, bro, I got this stuff called mushrooms. He's like, if you supply a place for us to do mushrooms, you could do it for free. And I said, okay, that sounds cool. My mom's pretty cool. We don't have to tell her we're doing this. So we just go to my mom's house and we just chill. So we went to my mom's house, and I was figuring, hey, well, my mom has a high drug tolerance whenever she takes like over-the-counter pills or pharmaceuticals or any of that stuff. She has a high drug. So I must have a high drug tolerance as well. So I remember what I did is I was like, okay, so I ate like half a bag of mushrooms my first time ever doing it. And it took like half an hour to kick in, but once it kicked in, man, did it kick in. I'm like sitting there, I've got this guy I hardly even know, and he was a cool guy, but I hardly knew him. And then I had me, and then I had my brother, one or two, my siblings there, like brother and sister. And here I am, doing that, and it took me really deep, really fast. I started to like see trails. They're called trails when you kind of see like you kind of like you kind of see like different parallel realities kind of like merging in a way. You see trails of things, and then I started to. At one point, it got real deep, and then eventually I kind of started freaking out a little bit. And I talked to my mom about it. My mom was like helping me relax and stuff. And then I had some very powerful experiences where I actually saw floating symbols. And I remember it to this day, kind of. I was laying on the couch, and I closed my eyes, and I could see these floating symbols that feel so real. And I didn't know what these symbols meant, and I found out years later. I looked up something online and came across something called the language of light. And I realized that these symbols I was seeing was what is called the language of light. And it was like these, almost like these symbols that were activating in some ways. But, and mushrooms lasted about 5 hours, very intense. And after that happened, I was like, okay, drawing the line here. I'm not doing that again. I'm afraid of this kind of psychedelic stuff. I was only 17 years old, so it was something I was kind of like blocked out from that point. So then years later, I ended up doing it once or twice more, but in smaller amounts. But that was my big trip experience that kind of made me scared a little bit. And then what happened is years later, I felt called to find out. I watched a documentary. This is when I was smoking a lot of weed. I didn't really do mushrooms that much after that, but it was a very powerful experience. I then came across and learned about something called the spirit molecule. There's a documentary called The Spirit Molecule. Joe Rogan is actually in it. He's he's directing it, or not directing it. He's like a narrator, host of it. And I learned about DMT, dimethyltryptamine, which is in our pineal gland. Every single night when we go to bed, it releases. We don't remember it though. At the end of our life, it releases. and at the beginning of our life, it releases. And that's what a lot of people have what are called NDEs, near death experiences. It's one of the reasons they've started to flush that dimethyltryptamine. So then they start having these life reviews, or what they're called, very common in NDEs. So I learned about this dimethyltryptamine, which is it's also the active ingredient, one of the active ingredients in ayahuasca. But I didn't know about ayahuasca yet. This is years later, like in 2011, I would say. In 2011, I am at work at Nordstrom's in women's shoes, and I hear and watch this documentary on that of dimethyltryptamine, DMT, a spirit molecule, which really opened my mind and I just felt like I resonated with this thing. And even now, I don't recommend people do DMT. I recommend that if people are interested in this, I'll talk about this a little bit later, but DMT is like, it's kind of like a fighter jet without a pilot. It just like, DMT will just put you up to this real high vibration, but you don't really learn that much because you forget 99% of it normally before you even come back. I've forgotten most of it, even though afterwards I may have written stuff down. But let me share with you my experience, just kind of like through me using plant medicine. And like I said, I don't recommend anyone doing this. This is something just because you hear me do it. You have to do your own research on this. Like obviously when I do Aya, I'm doing it in a very safe environment. I was a little bit unaware. I'm just kind of explaining to you some of the things in my past. That's why I'm explaining it, but just kind of want to throw that out there too. But anyways, I saw this documentary called DMT, a spirit molecule, and it talked about how it was in a way of like, it would make you really aware of more beyond this reality. And it really intrigued me. I had started becoming more spiritual around that point, so my mind was open to it. And what happened is I then put it out there to the universe in a way. I was learning about the law of attraction. I put it out there that however it's meant to happen, it will happen when it's meant to happen. So what I did is I put that out there. And then I was at lunch one day at Nordstrom's in women's shoes. I was at lunch and I talked to one of my old managers. And she, so no longer my manager. So I was cool to like talk to her and like, didn't have to feel like, oh, I can't ask her these like, questions and stuff. We were like friends at that point. And she was in a different department, and she told me, I told her, I just watched this really interesting documentary called DMT, a spirit molecule. It sounds super cool. Sounds like something I might want to try one day. I think it could really expand my mind and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. She goes, well, actually, my boyfriend just got back from Peru, and he met like shaman, like somehow got a hold of it. And it sounded very legit. If something's legit when you say the words legit. So it sounded very legit. And then it felt really meant to be. She's like, I can connect you to him. And I was like, wow, this law of attraction stuff really works. So I was like, cool. So, and I wanted it to feel right too. I wanted it to, in a way, not be like some guy made it. It was like this, it was actually brought from Peru, which I knew that, because the way this DMT is it comes from like the bark of a tree. And, so anyways, I ended up connecting to this guy. And I talked to him on the phone, and he's like, yo, if you want to I wanted to get a bigger amount so that I could also give it or have it for other people that may want to try it. So he's like, okay, if you want to do that when you come here, then you have to do it when you come here. I was like, that's weird. I don't know why he wanted me to do that. Maybe he was afraid I was going to rat him out or something. I'm not sure. But basically what happened is I said, okay. So one day we had it planned. I go to his house, and I never met him before. That's what made this kind of weird. I never met him before. So I go to his house, and he is there, and he's like, okay. He had his cousin there too. His cousin was cool, and there's some chick, and she was there. He was there. I was there. I was on his couch. And he kind of explained to me what was going to happen, how it worked. He said that he's seen like 40 other people go through it, at his house. So maybe that's why he pushed me to do it. He wanted me to be one of his guinea pigs to see what happens when he has me do it. I was like, okay. We talked for like 15, 20, 30 minutes. And he's like, okay, are you ready? And I said, I think so. And I was like, okay. So this is what happened. So basically, he also had I was still, I think, smoking weed at the time. He had like a 5-foot tall bong. So tall that you couldn't light it yourself. You had to have someone else light it for you. It's like one of those, like, yo, I got money type thing. Like, there's a huge bong, which is like a glass piece that was like, it was just really tall. So he's like, okay, you can hit it out of this. So he goes and he explains what you're going to do, and he explained to me how to do it. And he's like, you're going to hold it in on the in-breath, and then you're holding it as long as you can. Then you're going to breathe it out so you can breathe it out no longer, and then you're going to go into your journey. I said, okay. So he goes and lights it up, and as I'm taking in and drawing in the hit, breathing in, I notice that the thing cherries. Now, when it cherries, it means that I can see the thing that he's lighting has so much in it that it doesn't just dissolve. It's like turning red because there's so much in there. I realized afterwards that he was just trying to see how far off I could blast off. That's basically what I realized. So he lights it. I take in this big hit. I hold it in as long as I can. And then as I breathe out, I literally just go into this journey. And I don't remember a lot of what happened, but I do remember that I made this sensation along my face. And I literally put my hands over my face, and it was like, shoo, shoo. And I was clearing myself. And I cleared myself, I guess, 7 times, he said. Afterwards, I asked him, and that's what he told me. So I cleared myself 7 times. And at some point, I was wearing studded earrings. So at some point, I pulled out my earrings. I didn't hurt my ear or anything. I just pulled out my earring, and it was inside the middle of the couch, and I had to find it afterwards. However, immediately what happened is I cleared myself 7 times, which I didn't understand until a week ago when I had a session with Bashar, and I'll explain to you what he told me, because that was one of my questions, is I had what is called that past life review. This is the way I describe it, is imagine you had a crumpled piece of paper. You're looking at a crumpled piece of paper, and what happened is I was then looking at a certain experience of a way I made someone else feel in my life a couple months prior, and I could feel what they felt. And then as soon as I felt it and I realized what that was, it then crumpled back up. The paper crumpled back up, and then it uncrumpled again, and I could then see another experience from my life of how I made someone feel. And what happened is I went through a whole bunch of those experiences, living and almost feeling as what other people felt, that I made them feel like that. I felt the way I made some girl feel by how I kind of treated her, kind of some things I said to her, and I felt how she felt, and it really made me understand and understand how I was making other people feel in my life in that point, and asking myself, do I want to continue to live like this? And it kept crumpling up and uncrumpling that piece of paper as I went through that life review. That was very interesting. Then I experienced that something that was beyond the 5 senses that I can't even put into words. I experienced something that was beyond touch, beyond taste, beyond smell, beyond seeing, beyond all the senses, hearing, and it made me realize that there is for sure something beyond this reality. And I experienced so many paradoxes. I went to a place that I never actually left before, but it was like almost I realized that I'm sleeping in a higher dimension, dreaming that I'm here. And it's almost like I went there, but I never actually left there, but I was also here. There's so many paradoxes. Another paradox was time. Time felt infinite. If I was gone for 20, 30 minutes, but it felt like I was gone for eternity. I also saw some crystalline beings that were so bright, they were dark. You see what I mean? It really doesn't do it justice to explain. But after 30 minutes, at one point I come back halfway through. I look around and I'm like, where the hell am I? And then I close my eyes and go back into the journey again about 15 minutes in. And then I'm gone for another infinity. But when I do come back, it then was like, I was like, whoa. I then had to go to the bathroom 5 minutes later to look at myself in the mirror because I felt I felt like my energy was just coming back in my body. He explained to me that he had seen 40 people do this DMT, to do this stuff, and he's never seen someone react the way that I did, the way I cleared myself. He was blown away. He's like, I have no idea what that was, blah, blah, blah. And from that point on, though, I saw reality very differently. I realized that for sure there is something beyond this reality that I can't really put into words. So, from that point on, though, a lot, it kind of planted a seed, and then that was it, though. I've never done DMT since then. I do not recommend people do it. I recommend that if people are interested, ayahuasca is a much better alternative, or because it's connected to the plants, it's connected to the earth. There's a consciousness in there that helps guide you, and you do it with shaman, you do it in a legit setting. Legit. Anytime I say the word legit, it sounds not legit, but that's why I go to that place called Rythmia. But I recently talked to Bashar, and this is what Bashar said about it. Bashar said that what I was doing when I cleared myself is I was preparing myself to go into what is called fifth density, which is a non-physical realm. Right now, we are moving from a third into fourth density. He said I went to fifth density, which was beyond the senses. That's why it was hard for me to understand anything. But basically what I did is I cleared myself before going in, and I was clearing different levels of my mind before going into that realm of consciousness. So that's what he explained that I was doing then. He said, Victor asked about plant medicine and at that Bashar session. And he said, he was like, is plant medicine going to continue to grow in the future and more people be drawn to it as a powerful healing modality? And he says, isn't that already happening? He said, it will continue to happen. There'll be little bumps in the road when it comes to it becoming legal, but it will eventually become legal. Was kind of what he was insinuating. And in general, that was my experience with DMT. Now, when I talk about that let's go back now to Rythmia. This is, DMT was back in 2012. I then don't do anything for 5 years. And then 2017, I go to Rythmia. Now, Rythmia is a very magical place. I've gone to Rythmia 3 years in a row. And every year I go, it's 4 nights in a row of plant medicine, of doing ayahuasca. And it's very powerful. It always normally for me, when you go to this place in Rythmia, you go from normally a Saturday to a Saturday or a Sunday to a Sunday. When you get there, there's a whole, if you want a whole explanation of what it's like, just go to aarondoughty.com/Rythmia, Rythmia. You will see a whole entire description of what happens with Victor and I explaining our process of our first year going. Plus, you can call Rythmia. There's a link right there on that page at aarondoughty.com/Rythmia. You can also call Rythmia, let them know Aaron Doughty sent you, and they will give you, I think if you pay in full, they'll waive the shuttle fee, which can be over $150 sometimes. So check it out if it resonates with you, but it's a place that you can feel safe doing it. They have a very good program there. It's normally from Saturday to Saturday to Sunday, or Sunday to Sunday, depending on what day you show up. And it's a very magical experience. By the third, fourth day, you'll feel like a new person. You'll have some new insights. You go, and during the day, there's like talks and stuff like that. There's plant integration. They also have like colonics and organic food there that is very good, buffet style. So everything's included when you go as well. But anyways, from like 5 o'clock at night till midnight, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're in plant medicine. You're doing the Aya if you choose to do it. And then on Thursday, it's from 7 at night until 9 in the morning. You're spending the night there in the big Maloka. And you feel very safe. There's many shamans that have been doing it many years. And it's just a very powerful experience. And a lot of times when I do it, one of the insights I've had when I did it, the first time I ever really had a really deep experience with it, I had this certain feeling. I used to always tell myself that on a scale of 1 to 10, I feel about a 7 out of 10. And I used to feel about a 3 out of 10. And then I went through my spiritual awakening, I felt 7 out of 10. It felt very blissful, very good. That's why I felt like I didn't need to smoke weed anymore. I don't drink. I just feel good a majority of the time. Well, one of the nights there, I had I remember I took the cup. You take, you normally, they open up ceremony, you get saged before you go in, and then eventually, everyone lines up, you take your cup, they bless it, you take it, you go lay down in your bed, it takes about 45 minutes to kick in. You've got your bucket in case you purge, and if you purge, normally it's a good thing. You're releasing stored emotion. You're purging out things that you don't serve you. You feel lighter and better afterwards. But one of the nights I took it, it was very deep medicine. I took one cup, I go back to my bed, and about an hour later, I start feeling so much unconditional love in my heart. So much unconditional love that it was freaking me out. I felt like my heart was just going to explode with love, and I didn't know how to contain so much love. And the message I got in that moment was that in this lifetime, we all have the potential to feel that much love. But it was like basically telling me, you're feeling a 7 out of 10, buddy? That's how you feel? Here's a 15 out of 10. Your 10 scale isn't actually legit. There's more than that. And then it made me realize here's a 15 out of 10. And it said that in this lifetime, you have the ability to feel this as your natural set point. But this is why you aren't ready yet. This is why there's going to be levels that you go up into this as you clear out an emotion. So that was the feeling that I got. One of the other top insights I get when I do Aya is to let go. It's always like I'm getting too much in my business. I'm trying to be successful. It's all this hard work. And it's always let go. Let go and be. Enjoy the present moment. Stop trying so hard. When you let go, you'll actually be more successful. When you enjoy the process more, you'll be more successful. And at that moment, I was really caring what other people thought about me. I was really caring about some of the YouTube videos I was making one of the years I went to Rythmia. And after I had that let go experience, it's always about letting go for me. What then happened is I realized that I could let go of caring what people think, and I could start making videos I actually wanted to make. And I started to make videos on star seeds and this very esoteric stuff that I felt like people could judge me for. But guess what happened? My YouTube channel exploded. I felt more authentic. I was helping more people. It's incredible how much my life transformed from that one simple awareness of letting go of caring what people think, of letting go of control, and just allowing the universe to do things for me. So that's a powerful insight that I've had. And every year I go to Rythmia, it is very magical. I have no plans of going back yet because I'll be very busy these next year or two. However, I highly recommend that you check out Rythmia if you're even thinking about doing plant medicine. Call them and ask questions. And when you do call them, let them know that Aaron Doughty sent you. I promote them quite often, and just let them know. You go to Rythmia, RYTHMIA.com, and you just / Aaron Doughty, I believe, or just Aaron Doughty, or you just go to Rythmia.com, and then when you talk to them on the phone, just let them know that Aaron sent you, and they'll give you that shuttle fee. So, anyways, Rythmia is a very powerful experience. Last year I went, I was actually I was in Rythmia with Leeor, Alexandra. Many of you know her. She's had very powerful experiences every year she's there. So is Victor Odo. Many of you know Victor Odo. But last year we actually got to go to the house of Mitra, who is one of the this guy named Mitra, magical guy that is a shaman, Colombian shaman. He's actually not Colombian though, but he was an amazing guy. And we got to go to his house afterwards because we were in Costa Rica for a month, and it was just such a magical experience and so high vibe guy. So the guy has been meditating for years, and it's just super cool experience. However, in general, the last thing I'll talk about when it comes to plant medicine is there is something I do that is called Wachuma or San Pedro. Now, just to give you a general basis so you know that I'm not just doing plant medicine every day or anything like that. I do ayahuasca normally once a year and sometimes 4 times in a row, so it's 4 days in a row once a year. That's my cycle of Aya normally, and I normally go to Rythmia for that. And other than that, though, what I will do occasionally is sometimes I might microdose with mushrooms, but it's very rare. Other than that, though, sometimes I may indulge in something called Wachuma or San Pedro, which is a cactus. It's something I felt I've been connected to in past lives. Now, at first, I was very reluctant to trying this. Going to Costa, going to Tulum and different places. My buddy Victor was like, "Hey, I think you would like it," and I was like, "No, I don't really do." Now ayahuasca is new for me. I don't really, I'm kind of stubborn with that. But eventually, I tried San Pedro, and what it does is it's not so much psychedelic. It's not so much like you hallucinate or anything. It's normally done in groups and big groups of people where you're doing work where your stuff is getting brought to the surface, and you're doing things where you're talking to other people, which I really love the social aspect of it. But I realized I really like San Pedro. It's probably my favorite one out of all of them. And it's when I do in ceremonial aspects. I do it with the shaman still, and then we do there's a lot of group activity work that you do where you're talking to other people, and sometimes you'll even do role playing with someone else who'll kind of channel the energy of your mom or your dad, and you'll tell your mom or your dad something you've never told them before, and it brings up emotion, and kind of in a way it helps me bring my energy into my heart, and I feel very heart-based when I do something with San Pedro. It's a cactus. But what it is there's a powder form of it, and you mix it in water. It tastes horrible, especially after you do it a couple times. But my insights on that is unconditional love. Also tapping into my child self. I feel so childlike then. Also, food tastes amazing on it. So when you eat food, it also brings up the sensation more of it, the feeling more of it. So Wachuma, something that's dear to my heart, something I feel like in past lives. I think I was a Toltec in a past life, or it's a parallel incarnation that I have that I feel connected to. So it's always a way of me kind of remembering that heart-based unconditional love energy. But the insights that I normally have around all of these is letting go, be like a child, enjoy the moment, do the shadow work, become aware of things in the subconscious. And these are all very powerful ways that I go through the process of learning. And like I said, if you want to hear more about my plant medicine excursions, I can go in each one of these. I can talk about whole experiences that I've had and insights from it. You let me know. Other than that, like I said, if you're interested in all of doing Aya and you feel called to it, you go to aarondoughty.com/Rythmia, RYTHMIA. You can see a video with Victor, Otto, and I going over about half an hour explaining everything that we experienced when we went to Rythmia. And then there's also a link there that you can click that you can join. And I believe you'll get the shuttle fee waived if you pay in full. And let them know Aaron Doughty sent you. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know. Share it on Instagram if you liked it with some text on it on Instagram stories. I'll be resharing as well. And other than that, as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace, much love, and namaste.